the motherfucker and the original motherfucker. I have defined racism as the behavioral power system of logic, thought, speech, action, emotional response, and perception, whether consciously or unconsciously determined, in persons who classify themselves as white. The goal of racism is white domination over the vast majority of the world's people, whom the whites have classified as non-whites in order to ensure white genetic survival. My interest in the phenomenon of racism has resulted from my awareness of the negative impact this destructive system has on the lives and behavior of the vast majority of people on this planet who are non-white and who are the victims of this power system. The specific nature of the destructiveness of racism was set forth by the Caucus of Black Psychiatrists at the 1969 annual meeting of the American Psychiatric Association. The Black Caucus stated that racism was not only the #1 mental health problem in this nation, but additionally was the #1 cause of all other mental health problems. Racism is carried out in all areas of people activity: economics, education, entertainment, labor, law, politics, religion, sex, and war. From the above, it follows that if the basic underlying psychodynamic motivations in the individual and collective white psyche are understood, that is, to survive as a mutant, genetic deficient minority, then all patterns of white behavior eventually can be decoded and fully understood, whether they are patterns of logic, thought, speech, action, emotional response, and/or perception in any of the 9 areas of people activity. Similarly, because all non-white peoples on the planet Earth are now subject to and affected by the global white supremacy system, if the white psyche is decoded and understood fully, it is possible to decode and understand the present behavioral manifestations of all of those who are victims of white supremacy, domination, and oppression, the total non-white majority as a collective and as individuals. The term motherfucker is a pattern of speech used with extremely high frequency amongst black people, specifically black males in the U.S. In my attempt to decode and understand this particular pattern of high-frequency behavior or language use, it was necessary to begin with the knowledge that all black peoples, like all other non-white peoples, are relatively powerless victims of the white supremacy system, irrespective of their income levels. I then examined certain other specific patterns of language used by black males within the white supremacy culture. To begin with, black males in particular, but also black females, refer to the white male as the man. Once this term, the man, is thought or uttered, the brain computes that inasmuch as there are only 5 major categories of people, if the white male is the man, meaning logically the only man, then any other male must be one of the 4 remaining people categories: boy, girl, woman, or baby. Historically, black males have fought being referred to as boy by white males and females. Only recently has the use of this degrading appellation ceased to some extent, although there is a current television series called Chico and the Man. The title implies the boy and the man. The man, of course, is white, and Chico is a non-white male. Because the use of the word boy in reference to black males ceased, it only meant that black males could then refer to themselves as any one of the remaining 3 categories of people: baby, woman, or girl. It certainly did not imply that black males would be referred to as equals of white males. This never could occur under the system of white supremacy domination. When the use of the word boy was no longer the term of common reference for black males by whites, black males began referring to themselves as baby. For until most recently, with the changes in dress and clothing styles, most black males deeply resented any reference to themselves as girl or woman. But the recent style changes towards high-heeled shoes, curled hair, hair curlers, braids, earrings, bracelets, necklaces, pocketbooks, midriff tops, cinch-waisted pants, etc., that many black males have adopted now suggests that there is a developing tendency, widespread amongst black males, to not mind being mistaken for a girl or a woman. However, at present, the term baby is a fully accepted appellation for black males in reference to one another. It is thus not uncommon to hear one black male say to another, "Hey baby, what's happening?" In addition to black males frequently referring to one another as baby, many black females often refer to their black male peers and companions as baby. While black adult females refer to black adult males as baby, black adult males often refer to black adult female peers and companions as mama, often expecting those mamas to provide food, clothes, and shelter for them. It is not uncommon to hear, "Hey mama, can I ride with you?" Further, black adult males also refer to the place where they sleep as a crib, The brain thus computes an adult male who refers to another adult male as the man, to himself as baby, to the woman that he sleeps with as mama, and to the place where he sleeps as a crib, will call himself or any black male reflection of himself a motherfucker. Thus it is clear that the origin of this specific pattern of speech begins with the perhaps unconscious recognition that within the framework of the white supremacy power system and its reflecting culture, power rests only in the hands of whites, more specifically, in the hands of the white male. And relative to the white male, the black male is a powerless baby. All babies everywhere are powerless compared to adult males or men. Motherfucker is therefore a profound political statement, as it addresses itself to an existing and specific set of power relationships, namely the white male's continuing dominance over the black male. It is the confrontation with the stated fact of his social and functional powerlessness in the total context of the white supremacy system that causes one black male to explosively challenge and fight another black male when called motherfucker with the proper negative vocal intonation. This is true because black males are totally uncomfortable with the reality of their relative powerlessness compared to white males, even though this awareness of powerlessness is more often unconsciously repressed than consciously dealt with in the black male psyche. It is my estimate that 70% of the black male on black male homicides follow the use of the term motherfucker, said in the specific tone that implies, at the unconscious gut level, you are a powerless baby. The reality and awareness of black male powerlessness in the context of the white supremacy system causes such gut and psychic pain for the black male that the brain computer switches over to the very deep levels of the unconscious mind, to the realm and region of symbolic word formation and thinking. Here the brain pieces together, in coded symbolic language, the phraseology that hides from the conscious mind the continuing existence and activity of a totally unacceptable reality. Indeed, there is no single term that is more emotionally charged nor a phrase that is used more often by black males in the U.S. than motherfucker. This suggests that the most obvious of all realities for black males is their powerlessness relative to the power of the white male in the system and culture of racism. But it is not sufficient to have decoded this particular word pattern in the white supremacy culture. The question indeed arises, why is this particular word formation and combination used to denote black powerlessness? This more fundamental question can be answered. Again, however, it is necessary to begin with the psyche of those who organize the white supremacy power system, as well as the fundamental reasons and motivations behind its origin. The total world white collective has been involved in the establishment and maintenance of the white supremacy power system. It is, however, the white male who has been involved most specifically in the system's establishment and maintenance. The system's major characteristics thus reflect more of the projections of his psyche than those of his female counterpart. I stated in the beginning of this book that whites are undoubtedly a genetic mutant albino population. They are albino mutants from the original black beings, causing the formation of a mankind and a humankind. This statement is given strong support by the work of the anthropologist Louis Leakey, who stated in his book by the evidence that human life began in Africa and that the first human beings were black. From the modern science of genetics, we know that it is possible for all pigmented population groups to produce white mutants. We also know that it is impossible for albino mutants to produce black offsprings. As reported in National Geographic and Natural History magazines, recently found in Africa was the first known albino gorilla infant, who was the offspring of its coal-black gorilla mother and father. This evidence strongly supports the extrapolation that if a higher primate can produce a platinum blonde, blue-eyed, pink-skinned, then certainly this could also be the pattern by which blonde, blue-eyed, pink-skinned men and women also were produced, as genetic mutants or albino mutants from the black norm. That the norm for the entire human family is to possess melanin-pigmented skins supports that extrapolation. The albino mutants that easily could have evolved in Africa either could have been chased northward by their pigmented parents and kinsmen, or they could have migrated northward on their own, away from the intensely sunny environment of Africa, where their non-pigmented defective skins would not be damaged by the less intense sun rays. Moving directly northward from Africa, one lands in Europe, the now recognized home of the whites. The main point of this perhaps seemingly discursive discussion is that white-skinned persons were most probably the genetic mutant offspring from black parents. In other words, black males and black females were the parents, the original mothers and fathers, of the albino or white population. The marriage of albinos with one another subsequently produced what is now known as the white race. If this description of the origin of whites is accurate, as this writer strongly believes, then deep within the unconscious psyche of the white collective is an awareness of their origin amongst blacks, that blacks were their parents, and that they were the defective offsprings of blacks. The white male, the prime organizer of the white supremacy system culture, is thus aware that his original mother was a black woman. Therefore, in spite of the overt psychological need to represent his fundamental knowledge of origin, the conscious recognition of which would necessitate a confrontation with the genetic mutant and genetic defective status of skin whiteness, white males have exposed their unconscious awareness by referring to black women in this world area as mammy, and aunt or auntie, and referring to black males as pappy and uncle. These terms cannot reflect true simple endearment as they occur in the presence of degradation, enslavement, oppression, and black destruction. Further, white males strongly supported black females suckling white babies and also endorsed black men and women caring for white children. This close contact of the white child, particularly with the black female, was supported by the white male in spite of the degraded slave and oppressed status the white collective imposed upon the black collective. Thus, as the white baby suckled the breast of the black woman, the white adult male, as he watched the black slave mammy suckle his white baby, could unconsciously fantasize himself as being at the breast of his original black mother. Even more significant is the fact that the white male could not abstain from making sexual aggressions toward the black female. Indeed, some of the most important founding fathers of the so-called United States of America were involved actively and continuously in relationships with black women. This pattern of sexual aggression of the white male towards the black female continues unabated to this day. Ultimately, it is little wonder that black stockings, black underwear, and black sleepwear are items of sexual stimulation for the white male collective. It should be noted that the term sexual aggression is used to imply a sexual relationship between political unequals. The white male has power, and the black female, like the black male, is powerless. Sexual favors are thus directly and/or indirectly forced from the powerless partner. Each time the white male imposed himself sexually upon the black female, at the deep levels of symbolic thought, he can be viewed as having intercourse with the reflection of his original black mother. Thus, within the deep and fundamental psychodynamics of the white supremacy system culture, the white male becomes the original motherfucker. Thus, through the subtle and intricate dynamics and the unconscious underweavings of the white supremacy system culture, the white male has projected his image of himself as motherfucker onto the total black collective throughout the world. Indeed, each time one black male even utters the term motherfucker to another black male, there is probably some white male on the planet who is having sexual intercourse with a black or other non-white female, the symbolic representation of the white male's original black mother. Even the white male's pornographic magazines are filled with pictures of white males having intercourse with black females. This need to return to and to have intercourse with the black mother is undoubtedly the true basis for the Greek myth, Oedipus Rex. It also explains why this symbolic story continues to have major significance in the white supremacy system culture. The myth of Oedipus tells of Oedipus sleeping with his mother and slaying his father. The myth of Oedipus parallels in importance the biblical myth of Adam and Eve, which in coded language depicts the origin of the first whites from black parents. At yet another level, the white male's desire to return to the black female in a sexual encounter also can be viewed as a symbolic attempt to re-enter her worth in hopes of coming out again non-defective. In other words, the white male harbors an unconscious desire to be born again, but without the genetic defect of melanin pigment deficiency or albinism. It must be noted here that being born again is a major concept in the most important religion in the white supremacy system culture, Christianity. An extension of the concept of being born again without genetic defect is to be born without sin and to rid oneself of the original sin. The original sin in white supremacy's Christianity, on close examination, is the act of sex that produced the appearance of nakedness or the genetic mutation of albinism or white skin. That the concept of sin, shame, and guilt are related to the naked white body as perhaps an unconscious association was made manifest when a significant number of white males began to run about naked at the height of the Watergate scandal, when the evil doings of the highest-ranked men in the global white supremacy system became exposed to the world. This behavioral phenomenon of white men running naked in public and the hiding in shame were called streaking. It has been laughed at and discussed but never fully explained before now. It should be noted also in this context that the good book in the white supremacy system culture is most often itself covered in black, almost never in white. But let's return from these asides to the main point of discussion, the white male as the original motherfucker and his sexual return to the black female as an expression of his unconscious desire to be reborn with black skin. Within the context of the American segment of the white supremacy system culture, one of the most popular white male entertainers was Al Jolson. Jolson became famous singing as a white male in blackface, pretending that he was black or having a fantasy that he was black, while he was the only one who had ever seen him. One can suspect similarly were engrossed in the same fantasy. One of the most popular songs sung by Jolson was Mammy. He was pretending to be the black offspring of a black woman while singing about how much he loved his dear old mammy. Today, that song continues to stir the hearts of many white males and, I suppose, also some white females. Had Jolson and any of the other white males in blackface been simply thinking of a black mammy who had nursed and cared for them, there would be little need to color their own faces black, leaving bare their white lips to reveal that the color defect was yet present. The unconscious need for the white male to return to the black woman in the fantasy of being born again without genetic defect, more often than not, is performed in the context of degrading the non-white female. This powerful need to degrade the black female who symbolically represents his original black mother is primarily a result of the genetic dominance of the black over the white male. She is able to cause his genetic annihilation because all of her offspring by the white male are non-white, like herself. Thus, the white male, with each and every encounter with the non-white female, is confronted forcefully with the deficiency of his genetic status and is reminded of his true status as a recessive genetic mutant. He feels degraded in the encounter with the black female because of her genetic dominance, and so must in turn seek to degrade her. Ultimately, the white male views the black female as a threat to his survival on the planet. A secondary factor causing the white male to feel the need to degrade the black female in sexual encounters is the white male's anger towards the original black mother. Whites blame the original black mother for giving birth to them with a genetic deficiency. That anger is still being acted out by the white male against the black female. This anger is reflected in the reports of many black females who have had sexual encounters with white males, and report that white males often want not only to ejaculate in their faces and over their bodies, but they also want to urinate and to defecate on them as a part of the sexual encounter. The very high, perhaps unconscious, level of psychic pain experienced by the white male because of his genetic deficiency as an albino variant and his neurotic desire to be born again from the original black mother is perhaps the reason why the phrase motherfucker is such an awesome phrase for the white male to utter. It is a phrase that the white male is almost unable to bring his vocal apparatus to form. This is in stark contrast to the frequent uttering of the phrase motherfucker by black males. When translated, the term means functional powerlessness for the black male. In the context of the white supremacy system culture, however, it is an externally imposed powerlessness. For the white male, on the other hand, the same phrase has an even more disturbing, frightening, and devastating meaning in the same systemic and cultural context. For the white male, the term translates into not functional powerlessness, that is, externally imposed, but his own genetic powerlessness. Such a consideration is totally unthinkable at the conscious level, and even the unconscious level for the white male psyche. The basis for certain specific patterns of word usage in the white supremacy system culture is impossible to fully comprehend without an understanding of the origin of that system culture. White supremacy began with the production of the first albino mutants from black mothers and fathers in Africa. Once isolated, these recessive genetic mutants began to mate with one another and multiply, producing what is now known as the white race. The white race historically has sought to hide its genetic origins in Africa amongst blacks, just as it has sought to deny the origins of the white civilization from the culture of blacks in Africa, seeking instead to proclaim an origin amongst the Greeks. Historically, whites also have sought to degrade Africa and everything black. By doing so, whites can avoid confronting the true meaning of skin whiteness as a mutation and genetic deficiency state from the black norm, the human norm.